So you finally decided to study in Australia. You can already taste the coffee, the flat whites, and then you open the student visa page and suddenly you're drowning in conditions, documents, acronyms. It is a lot to handle. So today I'm going to give you 4 things that you need to know about student visas in Australia. Quick note before we jump in, this is general information, it's not personal legal advice. All right, let's get into the first thing you need to know. Most international students use the student visa class 500. It is the main one for studying full-time in Australia at an approved education provider. So the information I'm giving is around that visa subclass. So to apply for a student visa, you need a confirmation of enrollment or a COE, which is issued only after you accept your offer and only after you pay your deposit to that school or to whatever the provider is. The COE is basically the department's way, the government's way of seeing that you're enrolled in a course, that it's a real course, that it's with a proper and accredited registered provider with a real campus so that they know that you're not scamming them. Now, here's the first trip up, and that's people don't always realize that your visa, your student visa is connected to that enrollment timeline. So if your course changes, if you change providers, if you defer, if you decide not to start this semester but next semester, all of that can create compliance issues if you don't handle it properly. And I've seen students do a totally innocent course switch, and then all of a sudden they're scrambling because their enrollment status has changed and the Department of Immigration is wondering what is going on. Okay, number 2 is the genuine student requirement. And this is where a lot of applications fall over because they're not able to answer the simple question, what is a genuine student? Well, this is the test that the government uses to determine whether you're genuinely coming to Australia to study and whether your circumstances and your intentions all line up with that in one story that makes sense. So in order to determine that, they're going to look at things like your background, what you've studied before, your study history, the courses that you've chosen, how it fits into your career, and whether or not that's a logical progression, or whether you just continue to jump between unrelated courses. For example, you might have a master's degree in engineering, and then you apply to study a random certificate in business management or business leadership. So there isn't really a clear connection there. And if you were to do that, it would raise eyebrows with the government. Now, I'm not saying that you can't change courses or you can't kind of change career paths, but you need to explain the whole story to the government so that they understand what you're trying to achieve. So if you can explain to them in that situation that you're moving from the engineering kind of role more into a management role into your industry and a reason as to why you're doing that, and you're able to give a statement in support of that, then that narrative might start making more sense and the government will start considering you as a genuine student for that course. In order to be a genuine student, you also need to be able to fund your stay in the country because, as we know, if you're studying, it's also hard to work at the same time. So if your financials don't add up, it can feed into this idea that you'll need to work way too much or you're just here to work as opposed to just studying. And the government does care about that. They are going to be looking at that if things are inconsistent in your application. Okay, third thing you need to understand is health cover and your financial situation when you're staying in the country. So let's start off with your health insurance. Most international students need to have overseas student health cover, and that's for the whole duration of their visa. I've seen people a lot of times let this health insurance lapse because they're changing providers or they just assume that they're covered by something else, and then it becomes a real issue. It's one of those things where when it's not an issue, no one cares about it, but when it becomes an issue, it's a major thing. So make sure you're organized and make sure that you're covered. And the next thing is to do with finances. And this is what I touched on earlier, but the government wants to see that you're able to support yourself in this country. So depending on what pathway you're on, the underlying idea needs to be that you can realistically afford to live and study in this country. And yes, it's expensive. Rent, groceries, all of that, it stacks up. So 1, you need to be able to show you have the finances, and 2, you need to actually have the finances so you can support yourself whilst you're here. Okay, the 4th final thing that you need to know about your student visa isn't just about getting into the country, it's about how you plan your next steps. And a lot of students think that the visa is like an entry ticket to a cinema. You get in, you enter, and then it's done. You watch the movie, you go home, everything's good. But guess what? There is life beyond studying. There is life beyond the movie. I know it's crazy to kind of think about it, but some students, they don't want to go home after their course. They want to do further studies. Some are aiming for graduate visas after they complete their first course, and some are hoping for employer sponsorship. They want to stay with a workplace in the country. So if your long-term plan involves staying in Australia after studying, the best time to think about it is not 2 weeks before your visa expires. It's not at the end of your course. It's much earlier than that. Planning early saves you money and lets you make course choices that fit your goals. So to wrap up, student visas aren't impossible, but they do demand you to be organized. And if you need help with student visas, come speak to us at Unique Education and Migration. We have helped thousands of students get through their student visas and also helped with their study and stay plans so that they're able to stay in the country if they're hoping to. I hope you liked this video, and if you did get any value out of it, I'd appreciate if you liked and subscribed. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.